For my project, I chose to report on modern paganism, otherwise known as contemporary paganism or neo-paganism. I will be calling it modern paganism. First off, modern implies that there's just a paganism, which there is, which I will go over first. Paganism was first used for people in the Roman Empire who practiced polytheism or ethnic religions other than Judaism by early Christians. It was later used by Christian institutions as a term for all beliefs outside of Christianity, Judaism, and later on, Islam, the Abrahamic religions. This was in the Middle Ages, where it was defined as the non-Abrahamic religions. Until the 20th century, people did not refer to themselves as pagans. Paganism was created by the early Christian church as a label for otherness, as a derogatory term, as a way to say, you're not one of us and your beliefs, and you believe in fake gods. The areas that modern paganism covers is from the old beliefs of Europe and the adjacent areas of North Africa and the Near East. The number of adherents is very difficult to figure out exactly due to the stigma around certain types of paganism and the numbers being so split amongst the different groups. So there isn't very easy access to one source of total number of pagans, but estimates are around 3 million modern pagan adherents worldwide, with an estimate of 1.2 million in the US. The worldview of modern pagans can be put on a spectrum from Reconstructionism to eclectic movements. Reconstructionism tries to revive historical pagan religions and includes heathenry, which is Germanic, Grodnovery, which is Slavic, and Hellenism, which is Greek. These are focusing mainly on the old religions of those areas and tries to practice them as closely as they were originally practiced. Eclectic movements try to blend the historical paganism with other religions and philosophies. Some examples of these are Neo-Druidry, Goddess movement, and what is probably one of the more well-known, Wicca, or as they like to call themselves, witches. So, modern witchcraft. The beliefs of modern pagans are kind of all over the place due to the fact that modern paganism is made up of a bunch of groups which could be considered denominations. The beliefs vary significantly between groups, but there are a few aspects of the beliefs that are common to most forms of modern paganism. The first of these beliefs that is fairly universal to all forms of modern paganism is polytheism, otherwise known as the belief in and veneration of many gods and goddesses. Pagans believe that these gods and goddesses embody forces of nature, aspects of culture, and parts of human psychology. They are typically depicted in human form and are shown to have human flaws. They are not seen as being perfect, and that is something that can be different than other religions. Another aspect that is fairly universal amongst the various modern pagan groups is animism and pantheism. Pantheism is a belief that both divinity and the material or spiritual universe are connected and are one. This gives a more interconnected worldview that all things are one. Animism is viewed while universal is viewed in one of two ways generally. The first view of animism is that everything in the universe has a life force or spiritual energy. That every rock, every tree, every animal, every person has their own life force or spiritual energy. A second viewpoint of animism from modern pagans is that certain spirits inhabit features of the natural world and can be communicated with. This view indicates that not all things have their own life force, but that certain things have spirits that are inhabiting them. A certain waterfall may have a spirit that can be communicated with, or a certain tree, but not all things. Animism is so common in modern paganism because animism was very common in pre-Christian European religions, which is what modern paganism is seeking to revive. The most important universal view of paganism is their nature worship. When you think of paganism, one of the first things you will probably think about is nature worship, as it is one of the more talked about aspects of paganism. Their belief of nature as being divine. All pagan movements place great focus on the divinity of nature as the main source of divine will. Because of this, season changes are often a significant aspect of worship, alongside cycles of the moon, harvest, the beginning of spring. And another aspect of paganism that comes out of their nature worship is that environmentalism is very common. Because of the worship of nature, they want to preserve nature. So a lot of pagans are environmentalists. Rituals and practices are another thing that vastly will vary between the different groups of modern pagans. But there are a few things that are the same. The first is the importance of rituals. Rituals are very important in most forms of pagan practice. These rituals can vary, but they can be both public or private. Elements such as drumming, visualization, chanting, singing, dancing, and meditation are used to enter altered states of consciousness for these rituals. Domestic worship is worship that happens in the house. These are often done by offering food or flowers to depictions or statues of deities, alongside prayer and the lighting of candles of incense, which has been compared to other religions. Contrary to some common belief, animal sacrifice is not common in modern paganism. It was a common practice in these old religions, pre-Christian religions, but it is not a common practice of modern paganism. Common pagan festivals include the solstices, the summer and winter solstice, the start of spring and harvest, and festivals that respect the dead, for the respect of the dead. Magic rituals and spells are used by a significant but not all-encompassing amount of groups of pagans. A good example, and what is probably the first to be thought of, is Wiccans. They use magic and they focus on the occult. There's not a significant clergy structure or religious figures. Again, added to the fact that it is a very diverse, made up of groups or denominations with several overarching themes. As for text in scripture, there is none. Well, there is none. One above all, no sacred text, and many pagans are skeptical of the idea of scripture in the first place, the idea that one text could be a defining code. a code of ethics isn't set, but things such as respect for nature would be among them. Anthologies of myths and legends could be essential reading for practitioners because of the focus on the old religions, and this would probably be used with Hellenism and others that focus on the old polytheistic practices. Overall, if there's one authority, it's that nature's the final authority. I chose paganism because it's something that I'm interested in, as I do believe that nature has an innate power to it, and many religions, or more specifically the Abrahamic religions, do not have a focus on nature, which are the ones that I grew up around the most. And I always wondered why there was so little focus on nature, because I can see the rushing of a river and I see innate power to it. And I didn't understand how the Abrahamic religions just seemed to have no focus on it, so I wanted to learn more about it. And that's when I encountered paganism, which basically encountered purging all those views. So I wanted to learn more about it. I am still researching more into specific groups of paganism, but I wanted to do this video as an introduction to modern paganism overall. I hope this video was good and that everything goes well.